Hey everybody, today we're going to be talking about resource allocation, specifically Omicron ability mats. These are very rare ability mats that apply to characters, give them special abilities in specific game modes, Grand Arena, Territory War, Territory Battle, and even the odd Raid or Conquest one. And I'm going to say Grand Arena is the most important, Territory War is probably second. Third, the last three are all kind of like up in the air. Raid might be the third most important for all I know. They're very rare, you don't get them very fast, so it's very important how you allocate them, and this prompt is actually pretty accurate. You get them from Galactic Challenges, Conquest, and then the Cantina battles with the signal data. So early on, you might be tempted, you might be getting more than you can use, and you might be tempted to apply some. So I'm going to try to help you know where to apply them and where not to, because there's plenty of places newer players are tempted to apply them, but really shouldn't. A great place to start is Qui-Gon Jinn, and he has a Grand Arena Omicron, which I think is the most important, but in reality for a newer player, you're not going to access Grand Arena until level 85. So if you're under 85 and you really want to apply Omicron, maybe go for one of the Territory War Omicrons I'm going to be talking about. This Omicron scales very easily, even at a very low level, gear level. You just need to make sure you have good mods, because he gives his whole team, his Jedi team, you want full Galactic Republic too if you can. This gives them offense equal to 30 times their speed, and you can get your speed really high at low gear. So they're going to be damage dealing machine as long as you have just Jedi Knight Anakin, which you should as an early player. He's a very easy to acquire character. You're going to be dealing damage like crazy. Everyone gets, and it's doubled while they have foresight, so 60 times the speed where they're going to have offense. And then when Qui-Gon goes down, the whole team's protected, and Qui-Gon goes down. So on offense, AI is not very smart, so they're going to wait a while to kill him. When he goes down, he gives tons of extra offense on top of the huge boost he already gave out to the team, 4 times his offense. And then that's where you save Jedi Knight Anakin's AoE and wipe out the whole enemy team. So amazing place to start, really easily accessible early character, great Grand Arena Omicron. Now for an Omicron you shouldn't apply is Chief Chirpa, and this is one of the most commonly applied Omicrons in the whole game. As new players unlock C-3PO, they put their Ewoks to like gear 9 or 10 or 11 or even 12 if they don't feel like getting the modding strategy right. And then they want to use them, and then they slap an Omicron on Chief Chirpa. But I'm here to tell you not to do it. It looks nice on paper, plus extra speed, extra damage with basics, extra chance to assist. The reality is Ewoks are a bad faction, even with a brand new character of Nisa. It's just not worth that investment. Omicrons are too precious. Don't give one to Chief Chirpa. Save it for another team. You just have to accept it. Once you build them up for C-3PO, that's their job, and they're done. If you put them on defense, they're going to get crushed. On offense, maybe you could be clever with them. I'm not sure exactly what you can beat with a Gear 9 Ewok team, but just don't give him his Omicron. Now for one you should, absolutely Savage Press. Super easily accessible. You can get him in Squad Arena shipments, and his Omicron is just crazy. It's a Grand Arena Omicron, so it's great. He gets tons of extra stats, 50% extra defense, health, offense, and 30 speed. And his offense and health steal ramp up to plus 160%. And he can work on any team, so you put him with a Traya team, it's going to work great. If you put him with, like, maybe not Emperor Palpatine team, but just any Empire or any Sith team, or he can just go by himself. Just crazy. He's going to be acting as a tank for the team, even though he is an attacker. Has extra defense per stack of resilient defense. So his damage scales so high, really hard to get by, especially in the early game. He's going to be a defensive master. Even in late game for me, he still gets plenty of holds with that Traya team. So don't even worry about it. This can be one of the most regret-free Omicrons you'll ever apply. Now, one you don't want to apply is Princess Leia. You might be tempted after you unlock CLS because you had to put some gear on her. Don't do it. It is a Grand Arena Omicron, but it's a bad one. She can has a 55% chance, so not even a 100% chance, to give Retribution to her allies, Tenacity up to her allies, and she also heals if they don't get those buffs. Which is, it's kind of nice, but it's very expensive. And also you have to apply a Zeta in order to get to those Omicron too. So you have to blow a Zeta and put the Omicron on. And there's no team where she's really making that much of a difference with this Omicron. CLS team is full, they don't need her. And then, I don't know, people run it with the Akbar team, and that's going to be another no for me. It's not worth it at all. Don't do it. Next up, we got one you absolutely want to have. This is Wampa. Once you unlock him at 5 stars, he's not easily accessible. It takes some time with that guild event currency. But once you get him at 5 stars, bring him up to like year 10 at least or something, slap this Omicron on. You're not going to regret it. It's like SWGOH, but so many extra stats. 100% tenacity, plus 75% defense, max health, max protection, offense. He does have to be alone though. That's a blessing more than a curse. Like, you don't have to slot him with a whole team. He can take out so many things, especially early game. I'm just now at 11 million GP, losing use for him. But he also stacks his own tenacity. His damage is crazy. Damage over time. He ramps his offense like crazy with this ability. So the sky's the limit. As long as you can make sure he can survive the attacks of the enemy team, he's going to just wipe them all out over time. Great for General Grievous. Iden Versio, just all kinds of stuff. Do it. But what you shouldn't do is Akbar, and I already alluded to this. People that apply the Leia Omicron usually apply the Akbar Omicron too, and ran her under an Akbar lead, but it's just not good. It's not worth it. You don't have to blow a Zeta to get to it, which is fine, but it just doesn't do too much. Okay, he gets tenacity up to his allies. He's getting 3% turn meter whenever buffs expire, like 3%. I don't know, maybe if it was like 5 to 10%, like where you could get into infinite turn meter loop territory, it might be useful. But the team just sucks. And there's been, like, Sana came out, which took away Stormtrooper Han from this. There's just plenty of other places for characters to go. This is a lead ability, it's not unique. And just Akbar, like any team he's gonna have is not good. He's just not a good character. So just do not apply it. I don't even have too much more to say. Now we come to one of the absolute best Omicrons in the game, Darth Treya, Grand Arena Omicron, on the unique, which is way more valuable than on a lead. And she used to not be super easily accessible early on because it was time locked behind that Sith raid, but now you can farm her really fast with that raid currency and just put it all into her, unlock her in a few weeks if you want to. But it's a book. It does so much. Gives tons of extra stats, lots of extra survivability with bonus protection. Cooldown reset for a team, which when you have Darth Nihilus on the team, that means getting a quicker annihilate. Extra damage for the team. Their damage stacks. I don't even understand all of it. It's just like so many things. You definitely want to put her with Darth Nihilus, Scion, and then Talon if you have her. SWGOH works amazing with this team. And she was already a good character to begin with. This was just icing on the cake. Like a ton. A heaping helping of icing. Makes her a Galactic Legend worthy team to be countered. Like, I don't know what else can counter it. They can counter almost all non-Galactic Legend teams. They even had to nerf it because she was destroying Darkside Galactic Legends. So if there are Darkside Galactic Legends, the Omicron is turned off. And that's why there's such a good counter to her. But no regrets here. Ever apply this to her whenever you have that team up and running. Next Omicron we do not ever want to apply is Director Krennic, and I feel like players might be tempted to, especially if they went for Eternal Emperor, and you met R4 for that. It just basically gives him extra stats, him and Death Trooper, which, you know, Death Trooper runs with Iden most of the time. You don't want to run Death Trooper with Krennic, because Krennic has a leader tag. He doesn't mix with the Iden team, and his own team isn't going to be good at all. I guess you could put them both on some random Empire team, but they ignore taunt. It's just not good. Don't do it. He's a terrible character unless he gets some kind of crazy rework. Just not worth it at all. Don't waste it. Next Omicron you definitely want to apply, especially if you start with the Phoenix Squad, which is going to be the absolute staple moving forward, no question about it. Captain Rex, and his Omicron is fantastic, and it's very unique in that it is both a 5v5 Omicron and a 3v3 Omicron, but it works in different ways. None of this annoying. You only get to use it in half of the Grand Arenas. For 5v5, it's for Phoenix because with Phoenix, you need a full 5v5, and 3v3 Phoenix aren't good, so it affects clone troopers. This is just, you know, you're basically immune to ability blocking days unless they're undispellable. Extra damage to the whole other team, lots of health and protection recovery, and this first clause applies wherever you are, like 5v5 or 3v3, 3% crit damage, 60% max health, and 25 speed. Unless we forget, this gets shared with all Phoenix allies under a Hera lead. So everyone's going to get plus 25 speed, everyone's going to get plus 6% health and 30% crit damage. Just amazing. And then 3v3, he's great with clones. So if you have Rex, like OG Rex and 5s, it's an amazing team. Whenever an ally assists, they have a 50% chance to dispel all buffs on themselves and inflict armor shred, which can't be evaded or resisted. Armor shred is seriously important for dealing damage. It's not a buff, so it can't be evaded or resisted most of the time anyway. Well, it can be evaded sometimes, but not really resisted. But he's just a fantastic character. I'm not going to go into his whole kit, it would take all day, but if you watch my recent Grand Arrays, you see what this guy can do, even in late game and early game. It's just going to be so, it would be so fun to use if I could go back and have this guy when I was starting the game. Just don't put him on defense, they can get countered easily by a Padme team. This next recommendation is kind of unique, because it is a good Omicron, technically, but I'm going to say don't apply it. This is a Luminara Unduly Omicron, it's on her special. Basically, it turns her heal over time into a big boost. She gives herself some speed, but it helps them recover protection, gives them 100% crit avoidance, immune to turn meter reduction. So those are great abilities. But what I'm going to say don't apply it is because allies with protection up can't gain the bonuses, and they expire on other allies when they get protection up. And that is such a core staple of any team you might want to put her on. A Qui-Gon team, Anakin gives protection up. A Padme team, she gives protection up constantly. A JMK team, a protection up. The only real use for this I can think of is on a Jedi Master Luke team, and it's going to be a while before you can make use of that. So don't apply this until you really know what you're doing and you're really sure you want to use it. And now we'll come to our first Territory War Omicron, which is Mara Jade. And I don't personally have it just because I'm a Grand Arena Omicron fiend, and I don't even have enough to do that. I only have 2 Territorial War Omicrons, and I still haven't been able to finish off Malicos because I don't have enough Omicrons. But this, if you start the battle and the enemy is not a Galactic Legend, enemy leader, they lose 100% protection, 50% max protection. So that means they start out with 0, their bar's empty, but the bar is cut in half. And then she gets 100% turn meter. And on an Emperor Palpatine team, this is so crucial because she gets the team going as long as you have a Zeta. She can do this special, which does tenacity down to all enemies. And with the turn meter gain from his lead, she's going to take another turn, throw this out, put shock, stagger on them. Shock prevents them from getting turn meter, so you can get out early. They have 0 turn meter, you have all the turn meter. Just fantastic. You're going to run circles around them. Even works on defense pretty well. So this, if you're going to apply Territory War Omicron, give one to her because she is just absolutely fantastic with it. Next one, I'm going to recommend not getting another Grand Arena Omicron for Asajj Ventress. And it's not that it's bad either. It's kind of like Luminar. Like, it's not a bad Omicron. I don't have it. I can't afford it. Like, I think early game you really shouldn't apply it because you need a full Night Sister team, and it's all about like damage that she's doing. It gives a boost, potency, tenacity, and health. But it's about the damage she is doing, and you're really going to need her to be strong to begin with for it to make sense. You're going to need a full Night Sister team, and Night Sisters don't fit in very well to an early game roadmap as far as farming. That's why I wouldn't give it to her. She's easy to acquire on her own. Her shards are with a Squad Arena store, so you can get her pretty quickly, but I don't think that you should do that Omicron too early. Next up, we got another Territory War Omicron that I do not have. It is Poggle the Lesser, but this is going to be fantastic for early game players because early game players love Geonosians. They have plenty of use out of them, and then if you slap this Omicron on, that use just goes way up in Territory War. It's pretty convoluted. I don't even fully understand it, but everyone gets Geonosian Brood, and you get tons of bonuses, plus 20% max health, protection, offense, and 10 speed for each Geonosian ally, so multiply that by 5, 100% health, protection, offense, tenacity, and 50 speed. And whenever the character is defeated, revive at 100% health and protection. So it's automatic revive, crazy stats. If you play Conquest and face Geonosians, you know how much their abilities scale when you just give them extra stats. So Poggle gives you a little bit of a taste of like a Conquest Geonosians team. Just fantastic Omicron for TW. Next one I'm going to say you shouldn't apply, and this is kind of just representative of all territory battle Omicrons. I don't really like them. I don't think they're worth it in the long run, is Karth. And I picked Karth just because the Old Republic team isn't very good in general in any other area of the game. And while this Omicron might make it much easier to get some waves in territory battle, light side territory battle, you can't use the full team because you can't, like, if you're doing Geonosis, you can't use Canderous. So that's a big monkey wrench in the works. And in Rise of the Empire TB, combat waves aren't that important, so you don't want to apply this either. And that's where you can really use it because it is a mixed alignment squad. Lots of great bonuses, lots of offense stacking. It really stacks to a crazy amount, and lots of health and protection recovery. So it is powerful in TB, it's just not valuable at all. So in my opinion, Territory Battle Omicron is just not the way to go. Next Omicron, kind of back and forth on. I just did a roster review talking about how you shouldn't give Zam her Omicron until she's high relics, just because you don't get all the stat bonuses. The stat bonuses are more underwhelming if she's at low gear, like gear 12. However, at gear 12 or below, the biggest boost is for speed. She gives 20% of her speed out to her team. And while her max health, protection, and offense might be pitiful until she's in relics, Relic 7 for Lord Vader, for me, is when I applied it. It's going to give a good speed boost, so it might be worth it to apply. I don't think it would take priority over any of the other Grand Arena Omicrons I talked about applying, but it is a good one. Early game, you're basically just getting speed, but late game, you're getting a ton extra. Next one up, I'm going to say don't apply it, is Darth Sidious, and this is somewhat representative of Territory War Omicrons in general. You really want to make sure they're amazing before you apply them. But this is one I think a lot of players are tempted to apply because they got Sith Eternal Emperor and they got their Darth Sidious up really high. It is a TW Omicron. He gives lots of extra stats to his Sith allies, and he speeds himself up with his AoE. And, you know, he might do some good damage with that AoE, but I don't think it merits like a spot-on team for a Sith team. Like defense, I never really see this set anywhere. Like none of the top Territory War guilds are setting Sidious Omicron or telling people to apply Sidious Omicron. So if you're tempted to apply it, just hold off. Use it on something else better from this list. Next up is a fantastic early game Omicron that you should definitely get as soon as you're farming Supreme Leader Kylo Ren. This is First Order TIE Pilot. And he's a lackluster character without this Omicron, but boy, once you give it to him, it does so much for the team. I'm now getting less use for it. I don't often get a chance to use First Order TIE Pilot Omicron in Grand Arena, but early game, look at these bonuses. Plus 100 speed, plus 50% crit damage. It is when they have advantage, so they can lose that speed bonus. But at the beginning of the game, if you pair him with Hux, they start with plus 100 speed. You're going to outrun almost anybody. They get 50% max health, just flat. You can do is combine this with Supreme Leader Kylo Ren, but if you're just working on Supreme Leader Kylo Ren, this is going to be amazing. Lots of extra tenacity on the team. There are lots of health and protection recovery, so great banners. Foresight constantly. And they just do a ton of damage once you have this Omicron on. So I think it's very worth it early game. I wouldn't prioritize it over most of the early ones like Qui-Gon, Traya, Wampa, Savage, Rex. All those will go before this. But if you're working on Supreme Leader Kylo, definitely slap it on. We're almost through our list. The second to last character I'm going to recommend not applying an Omicron to is Luke Farm Boy. He's just a trash character. I mean, there's some crazy people out there like Hi, they put him to R9, gave him the Zetas, gave him the Omicron, just decked him out. But where even is it? Yeah, it's here. I mean, it gives him a lot more stats, 30% defense, max health, tenacity at the start of each of his turns, so he really ramps up, and he gets 10% defense and offense until the end of the encounter. Or no, at the start of his turns, that's when he gets that. Otherwise, he just gets flat defense, health, and tenacity at the beginning, but his offense scales and scales and scales. When he scores a critical hit, he gains 20% turn meter, some good offensive buffs, and when he's prevented from using an ability on his turn, like meaning stunned or like feared, plus 50% health and protection, already recovers it. I mean, it's nice stats. It would just be like, he'd have to be a much better character for that to be worth it. Just don't apply it. Like, and it's also TW Omicron, so I don't know. Someone was talking. I've seen people talking about, oh yeah, Farm Boy Luke Omicron with like Legend Leia, which I don't know. Some mad lad might go out there and do that, and it might work. And I'll still say don't apply, especially not early game. And last but certainly not least on this list is Iden Versio, and this was one I'm going to recommend giving. She's a great, amazing early game character. Best ship in the game, just fantastic value on her. And her leadership is good without the Omicron, but in Grand Arena, when you slap the Omicron on, You're getting lots of extra stuff, tons of health and protection recovery when enemies attack at a turn, so it's going to be very hard for at a turn, like a assist or counter heavy team, to make progress on your item team. And then they get a lot more turn meter. When they attack at a turn, you all get turn meter, so it's like, it's kind of a weird, it's not a turn meter loop team, but it's like it mitigates the other team running circles around you. So it is definitely a strong Omicron. I'm getting less use out of it now because unless you really soup up your whole item team, she kind of falls off in the late game. But early game, definitely valuable and definitely worth consideration. And the last character on this list I'm going to recommend avoiding with a 10-foot pole for the Omicron is T3M4. They got a Territory War Omicron, and it's all about giving lots of extra defense. Yes, he gives out some armor penetration to the team and some max health. Mostly it's about extra defense for target locked enemies, extra defense while they're debuffed, while buffed, like just lots of defense. And the only place I could see this working, since it's all about droids, is on a sortie team. And if you have a sortie team, it's still a sitting duck for like a Bad Batch team, which in, you know, Territory Wars, like that defense doesn't matter. They do true damage, rip it to shreds, not worth an Omicron at all. Territory Wars, so it's not even Grand Arena. And like, it's not a team you're going to use on offense. I mean, maybe you could find some way, but I have not heard anything good about this Omicron. So even if you use him for Giant Revan or unlocking Malek and you got a ship and you built him up, don't give him the Omicron. That is all my recommendations for now on Omicrons. I tried to stick to Omicrons that might apply more in early game, or ones to avoid you might be tempted to apply in early game. There's plenty of great Omicrons that might be better than some of these, but they're not for super early game players. I hope you did enjoy. I hope you learned something, and I hope it wasn't too wordy. I hope it was concise enough. Don't forget to give a like if you did enjoy the video. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing. Thanks so much, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.